All right, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the syllabus. We're going to go over installing the software. So right off the bat, I'll tell you that you don't have to install the software on your computer to do most of the assignments that we're going to do. There may not be any assignments that you cannot do online. However, it's much, much, much more convenient for you to actually have Python installed on your computer, because that way you have all your files saved on the computer. If you're doing this stuff online inside of a Python window, like I'm just about to show you, then you have to make sure you copy the files before you close the browser, you know, or accidentally close the tab or whatever like that. But if you ever need to, you can type in online, search for online Python. Oh, I should have set my window size smaller so that you'd be able to see it. Oh, well, I guess that's not too bad. Anyways, and then just pick one. Well, don't pick welcome to Python.org. Look for online Python compiler. Tutorials point is pretty good, so I'll pick that one. You just pick one out, and if you don't like it, you go and you pick the next one. All right, and then you get a little place where you can code, right? And then when you run or want to run the code, you can do so. Press execute and it'll run it for you. What if we put a syntax error in there, like we don't close our quotes? Does it tell us that? I changed it to put a syntax error by removing the quotes. Every time you have an opening quote, you have to have a closed one. All right, and it tells you that there's a problem in line number 3. And it looks kind of techie. It says EOL while scanning string literal, but at least it tells you, right? And so I'll have to go and add that to get it to run. So do you have to have idle? No. Could you do this programming like from your iPhone? Your Android? Yeah, you probably could, but it's really going to be a lot more convenient if you actually install Python. So installing Python, let me make a little file so that I can make some notes. All right, I'm hearing an echo, so it could be that Ryan might need to mute yourself if you know how to do that. But I only hear it when I get silent, so I guess if I talk the whole time, it won't be a problem. So anyways, we're going to install Python. When we install Python, we get an editor called idle. And if you're familiar with MontyPython, you'll get the idea that the programmer for Python, the guy who invented it, loved MontyPython, and that's why he named it, because Eric Idle was one of the founders. All right, it's not the best editor. There are far better ones. There's one called Pycharm. Pycharm is excellent. You want to become a Python guru, you might download Pycharm and play with it. There are others. I know that you could even do Python development like if you have Visual Studio installed. I don't know the details. I've never done it, but if you're a Visual Studio fan because you took C++ or something like that, you can do that. So those are editors. This one comes built in, and then Pycharm you can download. Pycharm lets you organize your code into projects, and it also offers hints as you're writing your code and does a lot of validation that idle does not. So it's worth doing, and maybe I ought to make people use it, but meh. It's a good learning exercise for you to install it and try to get it going yourself. Maybe I'll do an optional video over it. That'd be a good idea. Okay, so to install Python, you just go to python.org. I'm going to do that right here now. And if you want to do it right here now, if you're sitting at your PC, that's totally cool. A lot of the classes, me sitting here typing into a code editor, if you've ever taken one of my classes before, you're familiar with the idea. And on campus, if you're sitting watching, me lecture, it's real easy because you have a desktop computer in front of you and you can type in the code as I do. I think that keeps you more engaged than if I'm just droning on and typing in here, and it's real easy to, want to go and check Facebook or something. So if you can type along with the video, if I make my text large enough for you to see and stuff like that, I think you'll get more out of the class. But of course, it's not mandatory. So let's go to python.org. Now this is going to look weird because I'm running Windows on a Mac, heaven forbid. But most of y'all are going to be running Windows, so I want to do it that way. All righty, so I'm just going to go to Chrome, or you can use any browser. I'm going to close the chat. All right. Got 20 windows here open. I don't really need them all. I'm going to go to python.org, and I'm going to choose download. And I'm going to run it for Windows. And I'm going to choose the newest one. You don't want to use Python 2. Python 2 is about 12 years out of date. It's still got a lot of programs out there written for Python 2. There are differences, but if you learn Python 3 and then you ever have to go back and modify a Python 2 program, you'll be able to do so, whereas the vice versa is not really true. We always want to use Python 3. So I'm going to choose Python 3. Oh, it didn't actually download it. Fine. Just, how about it? Download Python 3. All right, that seemed best. If I just clicked on all releases and clicked download Python 3.8, that seems to be going pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and run it just right on the spot. And like I said, if you feel like downloading Python, even while we're talking, that's cool. Of course, you can always wait. But I will be typing in some code examples. You might want to do that. Yes, of course I do. I love letting programs make changes to my computer. Now, you don't have to have Windows in order to run Python. You can do it on your Mac. You can do it on Linux. If you're using one of those, it probably already has Python installed on it, but you're going to want to check the version and make sure it's Python 3. I'll show you how to check the version. In fact, it may tell me as soon as I run it up. And if it says Python 2 dot something, then you're going to want to go and get Python 3 anyways. All right, it says setup was successful. Now, every time I want to run some code, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a program called idle. So after installing idle, after installing Python, run idle. It's a bat file, actually, idle.bat. All right, how do you run idle? Hopefully, you can just find it with a magnifying glass, right? If you type in idle.bat, it ought to show up. Now, I really would like this to be easy for me to find. I would like to dock it against, the toolbar or up here. So I'm surprised I did not see the option to do that, but maybe it was there when you did it. I'm going to type idle.bat. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to do open file location and take a look at where it is. Just note this for future reference. It's in my app data, local programs, Python 38. That's just a ridiculous path. But it used to install it right off the root, which is really stupid, right? So I'm just going to make a note to myself that said, on my setup, it installed to, you don't have to take these notes. I always upload all my notes anyways. Okay, so, that's how I would find it if I needed to find idle, or if I needed to find Python. All right, so I'm going to right click on idle. Man, you cannot see that, I'm sure. I'm going to right click on idle.bat and do, why am I not seeing pin 2? Maybe it's already there. Well, weird. You know how to pin stuff to your taskbar, so whatever. I'm going to go ahead and run it. All right, now that it's running, I can absolutely right click on it and say pin to taskbar. Very good. I just recommend doing that so that you can always find it easy. And you notice that when I launched it, it installed Python 3.8.3. Excuse me. All right. Why don't I type something in here? This is not where I'm going to do my programming. If I ever want to write a program, I'm going to choose File, New File. But I'm just going to write a command here. What if I type in version? Does that do anything? Nah. All righty. I'm going to do print, parentheses, quote, hello, end quote, in parentheses. Hello. This is what's known as the shell. You're giving Python direct commands. Now, you don't want to write a program like this because when you write the program, it's, excuse me, as I type things in, it's doing it immediately. It would be like if I was trying to write a recipe for you, and every time I typed a new line in the recipe, it actually magically happened, right? You know, get 2 cups of sugar and this cup of that, and, you know, throw them in the bowl. And it was all happening exactly while I did it. Well, what if I made a mistake and it was only supposed to be 1 cup? Well, too late. It already did the 2 cups. So whenever I want to actually write a program, I'm going to choose File, New File. And then I need to save it. All right. I always label my textures, my file names with letters if it's a lecture. We're going to have lecture A, lecture B, lecture C, lecture D, and so on. And you do not want to save into the Windows System 32 directory. It may forbid you from doing that. And if I typed in and I click save, that's not what you want. So you're going to want to make some other directory, wherever you like to put your files, in a documents directory or a desktop directory or whatever. You're going to want to create a directory. So I'm going to desktop, new folder, and I'm going to call this one summer scripting. Who cares what you call it, as long as you can find it later. And then eventually I'm going to throw that over here in my quick access by dragging it. Oh, spelled it simmer with a Y. That was kind of dumb. All righty. Let's push this over here so I can always get to it. All right. Anyways, that's going to be where I save all of my files. And I'm going to call this lecture A. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go and get these notes out of here. I will expand them a little bit. All right, now I have a bunch of stuff here now that would crash when I tried to run it as a program. There's a run menu here in teeny tiny print you can't see. File, edit, format, run. If I choose run module, normally I'm going to be doing this with the Mac version of idle because then you can actually see it, right? You can see the menus and everything. And when I'm running Windows and on the Mac, everything's tiny. So anyways, I will do that instead. Why don't I just do that right now? I'm going to switch over to doing that. All right. So again, I'm going to do new file. I'm going to do file, save as. Lecture A. I'm going to paste that stuff. Oh, it looks really lousy. Maybe I shouldn't even bother. But I do want to show you that your program has to be formatted specifically or it will crash. It says invalid syntax. Well, no kidding. That's not a program, right? Whenever I want to start adding some comments are just text in your program that aren't programming commands. You use triple quotes, either triple double quotes or triple apostrophes. And then it green texts everything, and everything inside the green text is not going to crash. So comments just describe the way the program works. So you go to python.org and download it. All right. Now, why did I take note of where this installs? Because I might want to go and modify my search path so I can run idle from what's known as the command prompt. What's the command prompt? Command prompt, and I'll do this in a separate lecture, but a command prompt looks like this, right? Kind of like a good old DOS thing. Now, if you're into scripting or you run Linux or whatever, you know, you're probably already used to the idea. On a Mac, it's called a terminal. I think on Linux, it's called the same thing. On Windows, it's called the command prompt. And it'd be nice if I could type in idle and actually have it run. Now, my search path is set up so that I can do that. It's also nice if I can just type in Python and have it run. And my search path is also set up to do that, although instead it launched the Microsoft Store. Oh, wow, you can download Python from the Microsoft Store? That might be an easier way to do it. I have to play with that. All right, anyways, so you can edit your search path on Windows, indicating where files are found so that if you run them from the command prompt, they can actually load. How would I know if I needed to do that? Well, if I typed in Python, I'm adding a letter to it, so it's not going to actually work. It'll crash it. I mean, well, it won't crash. It'll say Python is not recognized as an internal or external command. It just means it can't find the executable. So that's why I would add it to the search path. So, you know, some things get executed, added to the search path when you install them, and some don't. Like if I type in Word or WinWord, there's no guarantee it's going to actually be able to run. Now, if I went and found my Microsoft Word directory and added it to the search path, I'd be able to run it from the command prompt. You normally would not need to do that. All right, so back to here. I feel like writing a program. Since I always use the double quotes rather than the single quotes, so I'm going to add those there. And I'm just going to type print, parentheses, hello. All right, I need to do a better job of telling you what I'm typing. Print, parentheses, quote. It could be a single quote or double quote, it doesn't care. Hello, exclamation mark, in quote, in parentheses. Now I want to run it. I'm going to choose run module. Now, if I had not done a save as at the very beginning to give it a file name, it would be prompting me for a file name right now. But right now it's just asking me if it needs to be saved. And of course it does. And ooh, it's not going to run. All right, I guess I just better delete all this stuff. Everything that I copied out of that text edit window seems to be crashing. Now, really what I want you to do is at the top of every program you write, or if you're taking daily notes that you want to upload, which are not mandatory, I want you to add your name, the class, right? And what lecture it is, or what homework assignment it is. This is called a comment block. And it could be that halfway through the semester, I'm going to start telling you that if your code does not have comment blocks up at the top, that you're not going to get any credit for it. Now, I'm not making that demand at the beginning, but I should, just to get you in the habit of it. What you're supposed to do is up in the comment block, you're supposed to describe how the program works or what it is. Now, when I type in my notes for the class to view later, I type it directly into the idle window. And it would get really annoying to have to add these hash signs in front of every single line I do. So that's what the triple quotes are. Here I can type a lot of text, right? Now I know that half of y'all have already had fundamentals, so I'm not going to spend as much time, but I can't skip the students who haven't. So anyways, this is what's known as a multi-line comment. A multi-line comment spans multiple lines, right? A hash marks a single line comment, right? Now, actually, the triple quotes mean something else besides just multi-line comment, but it is how you make multi-line comments. All right, let's see if I can finally run it. You can run it. All right, it ran and it said hello. Can y'all see this? Because I can make the text larger on the screen. Maybe I should do that. If I edit my preferences, let's just make it larger. Might be too large. There we go. All right, now I know y'all can see it. Hope so anyways. David's watching from a phone, so good luck. All right, so you can always go back and watch the video later, and if you're watching by phone, I wouldn't blame you for bailing out. All right, so I'm going to go, and now that we've actually got our program to run, let's take one more look at it, right? We've got a comment block up here. We've got some kind of description of what's going on here, and then I actually have a line of programming code, right? This is a print function. It's called a built-in function. Some people abbreviate that as BIF, B-I-F, call them BIFs. I think that's silly, so I'm not going to use the term again. And this is where your code actually works. If it's lit up in purple and black and stuff like that, it's actual code. If it's red or if it's green, then it's not code, right? It's part of a comment or it's part of a string. If I make an error, like I forget to close my parentheses, I get a syntax error. This thing keeps getting in my way. You probably can't see it, but my Canvas toolbar keeps showing up there, blocking things. Unexpected EOF while parsing. Well, I saw that before. EOF just means end of file. It just means that it was running along and it couldn't find the end of the command, and it went all the way to reach the end of the file without ever finding it. All right, so now to run. It sure would have been nice, though, because it told me the line number on which it crashed, if I could see line numbers. And I wish there was a way to tell Python to always put the line numbers. All right, so I'm going to run it one more time. It's going to tell me the wrong file number this time. Oh, it's not even telling me the wrong file. It's not even telling me the line number. That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes you'll get error messages that tell you line numbers. And you saw that when I ran Python inside the online editor, right? Quite often you'll see that. It'll say which line number it's on. I don't have line numbers here. Well, I can turn them on. I can go to Options, Show Line Numbers. I don't know what Show Code Context does. Probably disable that. Anyways, unfortunately, you have to do that every time you open idle. But it's worth it for when you get error messages. The error message will show up and it won't explain why. I'm going to force an error. See if I can force an error. I'm just going to type in x equals 1 divided by 0. Now, you may know that dividing by 0 is not the best thing you can do. It will often crash programs. So I'm going to run it, and it tells me what line, and it tells me the error. Division by 0. Okay, so now I know it was in line 14. And since I have line numbers turned on, it's really easy to find it. What if you don't have line numbers turned on and you wanted to find out where line 14 is? Can you? Yeah, if you look down here in the little corner here, it says line number 8. That's where my current cursor is, right? So if I clicked on line 4, it tells me that. But, you know, if it tells you that there's an error on line 120, you don't want to just put your cursor in the program and then move it down until this thing says 120, not when you can have the line numbers on the side. All right, so that crashed. So, you know, divide by 0 crashes the program. That's called a runtime error. And then when I left off the parentheses or the final quote, then that's not a runtime error, that's a syntax error. Syntax error is something that stops the code from compiling. Like if I do this, X, A, or if I type in the wrong thing, right? I spell print with 2 T's rather than 1. That's a syntax error. It says name print T is not defined on line 120. So the program wouldn't even run. So usually those are typos, right? There can be other syntax errors, but quite often they're typos like that. They're errors in the syntax. In order to write Python code, you are learning the syntax. Syntax are the rules, the grammar of the programming language. And different programming languages have different syntax. For example, in this programming language, if I wanted to define a function, I use the DEF keyword. And a function could look like this. Now I'm going to delete that def keyword in just a minute, but in C++, your function might look like this. Well, I was supposed to give it a name here, so I'm going to call that test because that's the name of my function. But anyways, in C++, it looks like this. It looks very different, right? And even the way you print data is very different in that language. I'm just going to show you so that you get the idea of the dramatic difference between syntaxes between various programming languages. However, they all kind of have the same concepts. You need to have a way of sending data to the screen. The keyword is very different. The syntax is different, but you can do it, right? And so what do programs do? You get input, you do data processing like math, you do output. Well, all languages have got to support all three of those things. Anyways, this is crashing, and I don't care about defining functions, but if I tried to run this code, it's going to crash here because it's not valid Python syntax. There are going to be other syntax errors that aren't strictly syntax errors, but we will call them such. Like if you use a variable before it's declared. Like if I tried to print X, I never actually created an X variable, so it doesn't know what X is, so it's going to crash. Anything that causes the program to crash before it even, while it's running like that, we can call a syntax error. So let's bail out on that. Let's go and talk about the syllabus. Fun time's over. We got to cover the syllabus. Oh, you know what? I should go and get that URL and put it in the notes. So, or you can use Python online by Googling up or using Bing or whatever, DuckDuckGo. Online Python compiler. For example, here's one. Ooh, that's pretty dumb looking. Anyways, I'll fix that. Upload the notes. All right, so Canvas. All right, I want to see the syllabus. There's always more than one way to do things. If you go to modules, then all the setup information for the course is under class information. All right, so syllabus. All right. Welcome to CIT1203 Scripting. I am Professor Jeff Thompson. Let me increase the font size. Right. You can contact me at that number. What I'd like for everybody to do as soon as you see this is to send me a text message so I can add you to my contacts list. If you're in my contacts list, then your call, your call might be missed, right? If you're not in my contacts list. And that way you have my number convenient and you can send me texts anytime, day or night. And if you get stuck in a programming problem, you can just take a picture of your screen, your code, and showing the error message and text it to me. And quite often I can tell you, within a minute what's wrong with your code. Anyways, there's no office hours, but we can make appointments to like go and meet out in the courtyard or, go to the library. But the BIT building is closed over the summer. And yeah, I can get into my office, but the doors are locked, right? And students aren't supposed to be able to get in there. Okay, so I'm supposed to cover this. If you've taken other courses on Rose, you've already seen this page. It's additional syllabus material, syllabus addendum. Second. Let me make this white. All right. So, syllabus addendum. Here's our mission statement. I'm going to let you read this by yourself. Let's go back to it. The academic integrity policy. Now, I am going to talk about academic integrity. I'm going to go on quite a bit about it. The Rehabilitation Act and Americans with Disabilities, the ADA. What this means is that if you have some special needs that would help you do the class, more easily, like, well, in classroom environments, you might need to video the lecture for yourself, right? Or you want to ask to sit on the front row, right? Anything like that. So, dyslexia, anything that would need you to ask me to offer you some additional help, I'm happy to do it. You're going to want to go and talk to student services. Now, I'm sure this office is open even over the summer. So you're going to call them up and they'll help you fill out a form. And then the form is presented to me, with a list of things that, that really help you get your stuff done. And I'll do it. And so this is cool. Counseling services. What's awesome is that it's free and confidential. And what's even more awesome is that they're actually good. Now, I had a family member die of COVID. I don't know if you've had, that happen, or friends or family. Yeah, I was not doing real well. I actually gave these folks a call. So then there's administrative withdrawal policy. If you do not participate in a course during the first week, you will be dropped from the course. And this isn't my policy, it's campus policy. You'll be dropped from the course and you'll get an AW marked on your transcript. It's far better to just go and drop the course yourself, right? I mean, you might even get some money back. Now, it's 2 weeks during a 16-week semester, but during the summer, it's just 1 week. And so you want to make sure that if your teacher has you take an introductory quiz or you're supposed to upload something, I can't prove that you were here by attendance, so you absolutely need to do the first assignment that I'm going to have you do and upload it, and that will be your proof that you were here. Also, I have you upload something for each lecture that we give, and so that would also be proof that you're enrolled in the class and not enrolled in it, but actively pursuing it, right? So electronic communication, you may not know, but you probably do. You have student mail, right? I know that there's some email, there's some URL that'll take you to it, but I honestly always just go to gmail.com and then you type in your rater.rose.edu email address. If you're having trouble with it, go here. If you're still having trouble with it, there should be a link to the contact information for people who can help you. Oh, look at that. There's a typo in the, well, you would know how to fix that, right? Yeah, it's fascinating. That definitely needs to be fixed. Let me screenshot that. Anyways, if you get a hold of the IT help desk, then they can help you get your account reset or whatever, tell you what you need to do to get it going if you don't know it. I believe that I'm not going to even do any I believes, about what your password is and stuff like that. So it's a different address. It's a different account than you log into Canvas. It's got your first name dash last name at rater.rose.edu, and the name will, could be different if there's two, John Roberts at Rose, then you may be John Roberts 2 or something like that. All righty, so lectures will be recorded with Zoom. I appreciate y'all being here, but you don't got to be. It's an online course, right? And you didn't sign up for, lectures. Well, you're going to watch the lectures one way or the other, because actually watching the lectures is worth credit. So you need this textbook, and you need it with MindTap access. So here it is. Now, you don't have to go and to a bookstore and buy a card for this online book or anything like that, because if you follow one of the MindTap links that I give you, it'll actually ask for login information, and if you haven't already bought MindTap access, then you can just whip out your credit card and do it right on the spot. Of course, some people need to buy it, in a particular way to get reimbursed for credit or something like that. So what you got to do is you buy MindTap Access. Well, how do I know what kind of MindTap I do? If you click on Follett Discover, I believe that you can log in to the bookstore and get credit that way, or figure out what you need to do there. I'm sure that you can also type in rose.edu bookstore. Well, no, that didn't work. It's trying to search that window. That's not what I want. Right. Bookstore at rose.edu, and here it takes me to a bookstore URL. You might be able to order what you need from there. I know that you can probably get MindTap Access from Amazon. If you're taking more than one class that uses Canvas, and you're probably going to want to get Cengage Unlimited instead. Anyways, once you've done all that, and why don't we save that for a little bit later? Let's go back in. No, I don't want Windows. Thank you very much. All right. So you definitely want that textbook. Consider getting Cengage Unlimited. I may also be taking us to a separate URL. It's called an open book. It's free to use. It's a website with the text of a book over Python. Now, I have taught occasionally semesters where all I did is I had people go to this website and we stepped through them chapter by chapter, right? Rather than have you buy your own book. Now, you don't need a physical textbook, but if you like physical textbooks as well as MindTap, because you can read the textbook on MindTap. All right. So I may not even remember to go there because our current textbook is pretty good. In the past, we've had textbooks for the scripting course that weren't so good, so I supplemented them a lot with that. And like I said, some semesters I just use that. There would be nothing wrong with you going to this one, How to Think Like a Computer Scientist, and just work your way through it, because that's what I've done in classes, is work my way through it. All right, grade scale is pretty boring. 90% is an A, 80% is a B, 70% is a C. Now, if you're sitting at 89.7, I'll probably round it up, right? Because you're so close to an A. But pretty much you want to hit your A, your B, your C target. Your gradings is set up like this. Homework is 30% of your grade. Cengage is 40, and exams are 40% of your grade. Attending lectures is worth 10% of your grade, and doing a semester project, which we will work on for the second month of the class, is worth 10% of your grade. All right, so when you've done your homework, you're going to need to turn in both a screenshot and a programming file script. When you are done watching a lecture, you need to include a write-up of what you've learned from the lecture. Let's take some notes about this. All right, so when done with the lecture, fill out a video review form and upload that. When done with homework, take a screenshot of your program running. Please try to get the code in as well, right? Code plus output window, and upload that to the folder. All right, where's the video review form? I could probably put a link to it right in here. I'm planning on linking the video review form inside the notes for every video from now on. Where is it? It's over in modules, class information. Lecture video form. And it's just an RTF file. which is, openable by Word doc or whatever editors you have installed on Linux or Mac. And if you can't do that, you can just create a file in any of your favorite tools and upload it. So what are you going to do? You're going to fill in your name. Which video did you watch? Lecture A. The date watched, and did you look at any daily notes from the video? Well, I hope so. If I have them there, just scroll through them. And then what did you learn from the video? Please write at least 4 sentences describing what you learned. So it used to be that I would let people just upload the code from the lecture, but that was assuming that people would type in the code and people would just copy the daily notes and upload them, and not watch the video, not learn anything from it. So I do want you to write 4 sentences, describing what you learned. Now, if it seems to be a stretch, if you really can't think of 4 things, you don't have to. But usually a lecture is so full, since, usually I'm going to be going for like 2 hours or whatever, heaven forbid, you're going to learn 4 sentences worth of work. You'll be able to figure that out. Now, today's going to be slightly different. For today's lecture, I just want you to upload a screenshot, right? Not a, you can do this lecture video review form as well, but the assignment's going to actually be to do a screenshot. No, we'll actually make that the homework. We'll go ahead and just do the lecture review form and for the lecture folder. Just a second. Can I pause recording? All right. Can't, huh? All right, well, that totally blew my concentration. So we're going to draw the lecture to a close, but first I need to describe what I want you to do as homework. So the homework assignment homework 0, because computers tend to start counting at 0, is you're going to install Python, and then you're going to launch idle, and then you're going to make program print the word hello. You're going to run the program. You're going to take a screenshot, and then you're going to submit the screenshot to the folder. Now I can give y'all a document about taking screenshots. I think most people know how to take screenshots, but one way that works on every Windows machine is to just hit the print screen button. Now there's a snipping tool, that makes it a lot easier and stuff like that. On Windows, there are millions of ways to take screenshots, but one way is to hit the print screen button on the top row of the keyboard, then open Paint or Word and paste. So I could do that, maybe. I don't have a print screen button on here. I don't know how to simulate that. There are other ways to do it. There are screenshot utilities, right? Anyways, so you hit the print screen button, and then you go and you launch Paint or you launch Word. I'm going to just do it in Paint. Paste. And boom, I have a screenshot. You feel like cropping or whatever, or you feel like using a different tool, you don't have to use Paint. You don't have to use Word, just however you want to do it. Everybody here has been using computers since they were 1 year old, so I know you know how to make screenshots. I will upload that document about it, but my document's old because I didn't know about the snipping tool until recently. It's kind of dumb. It's a useful tool. All right. So that's the homework assignment. You can probably do that, within minutes of watching the lecture, right? And get it done, right? That'll, first homework assignment's the simplest. we'll have more programming, we'll actually have programming assignments that come up from, the next lecture that we record. So let's talk about MindTap a little bit. We're going to go to modules. And by the way, I'm going to push this thing up to the very top here so that the chapter 1 is not down at the bottom. Let's move the module up to the top. After class information. But what else do we have in here? We have this thing that says, C-Engage Lambert Fundamentals of Python First Programs. If you click that, that's where you log into C-Engage. That's where you can whip out your credit card and buy it right away, or you can enter, the information that you entered when you purchased C-Engage Access or whatever. Now, when you're in C-Engage, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but there's specific things that I'm going to want you to do. And I'm going to show it to you on Unit 2 rather than Unit 1 because I don't think I assigned any coding problems for Unit 1. So you'll expand it and you can read the chapter, right? Takes a while, right? There we go, right? It's just a textbook. Now, personally, I don't like reading on screen in some ways as much as having a physical textbook. But on the other hand, I don't always like paying money for a physical textbook. It's up to you. Then you're going to want to go to code. Now, some of these coding problems are actually hard, not as simple as what you would think, right? You'd think that, oh, I'm going to be able to do this in like 5 lines of code and be done with it. And if you've ever done one of those online Python tutorial sites, that's the way their coding exercises are. Some of these are really hard. If you get stuck on one, you really just flat out get stuck on one, don't Google up the answer. Instead, text me and say, I'm stuck on programming exercise 2.3 or something like that. And I might even record a lecture showing how to do it, right? Because if it's too hard for one person, it might be too hard for other people to do as well, right? So what does a programming exercise look like? What it does is it describes some goal that you're supposed to do. And you're going to type in the program, and then you're going to get it to run without syntax errors. So write a program that takes the length of an edge as input and prints the cube surface area as output. An example of the program's input and output is shown below. Now, I'll actually go in and do this later when it becomes time to, but right, enter the cube's edge. I know you can't see that. I'm going to have to find a way. Yeah, I know how I'm going to do it later. All righty, and then I'm going to get the edge input. E is equal to, right, input. And then I'm just going to print something after my calculation, blah, blah. And then I'm going to click the run button and make sure it works. Enter the cube's edge for blah, blah. Okay, obviously it's not the answer that they wanted, right? But say it was. In that case, I want to actually test it out and get credit for it. To do that, you don't press that runs it and make sure it works. You're testing it, but now they're going to test it. So you click on tasks over here and click run checks. And it's going to fail, right? So there's a little red 3 there, and I got 0% credit for it. And so we can go and see the results. They tested it with 4, and here were the output. Well, obviously that wasn't right. Here's another one. They tested it with -5, and that's the output that they got, but what they wanted was 150, right? That was the goal. And then here's the last case. They entered 0, and we printed out something, but what they really wanted to see was 0. If it had worked correctly, then I would get credit, 100% credit or whatever, and I'd want to click submit. All right, so programming exercises. And then down here under apply, there's review the basics quiz. Now the ones that you need to do for credit say count towards grade. Those are the ones you're going to want to do. Now when I say the ones you want to do, those are the ones you need to do to get credit. However, there are a lot of other ones. You are free to do as many as you want. And what I should do is tell is create drop boxes so that you could upload screenshots of the ones that you did as extra credit, right? Why not give you credit for them? But the other ones are the mandatory ones. And so then you're going to want to take the quiz, and you can take the quiz as many times as you want in order to get credit for it. So it's just multiple choice questions. Blah, 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 blah. All right, I got 10%. Bummer. Review this test. It looks like it's telling me the correct answer. Wow. I mean, you can't get much easier than that, right? I'm not sure it always shows you the correct answer. It seems like when I've looked at it in the past, it didn't. But anyways, and then I can look at each one. Figure out what I did wrong, and then I can take it again. And then I can take it again. And then I can take it again. And I don't give you due dates on the quizzes because I want them to remain open after the due date, because I can go into Canvas and assign due dates. But if I do that and the quiz is closed, then you won't be able to do it. So I know that when you go into Canvas as a student, there's probably a checklist of things that you need to do that's date driven. And if I don't put dates on there, it could be that you're not going to get notice of it. Well, how do you know which ones you got to do? That's why I list them in modules. Man, there's a lot of stuff here. Let me just close this. Programming exercises, right? Tells you which ones you need to do. And when you go and look at your grade book, after you do a programming exercise, you should see that grade reported in the grade section, right? So Canvas is supposed to update, Cengage, MindTap is supposed to update Canvas to let us know, so that you get points for it. So you're going to want to do the programming exercises. You're definitely going to want to do the programming the basics quiz. There's one for Unit 1, there's one for Unit 2, there's one for Unit 3, and so on. If you cannot figure out why an answer is wrong, again, just take a screenshot of it, upload it to me. Now, if you just say, I missed number 3, that's not going to help me, because when I take it, it's not going to be question 3. The order of the questions is usually randomized, right? So just take a screenshot of it and I can explain, tell you what's right or what's wrong. So you can get to all your MindTap problems and quizzes and stuff like that through modules on Canvas, as well as just stumbling through MindTap itself. But I tried to put some useful links here, right? The programming exercises are there. The link to the course itself, the unit quizzes are there. We're hoping to cover these chapters. Looks like I'm planning on skipping chapter 7. Then there's data files and code examples. We don't have any data files for Unit 1. For Unit 2, the only data file is, well, when you do this, it gives you a zip file. And you know how to extract a zip, so I'm not going to work through it. Same for code examples. Unit 2 will have a code example, code snippets. No, they're not listed by units. So I guess you just look at these as at your leisure. I should make that as part of the lecture, is to go and check to see, the code snippets, to see how they apply to our stuff. Now, since we're not really talking about coding this time, I'm not going to do that. All right, so there's variable and assignment statements. What the code snippet is it just takes you into the Python editor built into MindTap, and then it gives you some examples and you can run it, right? It's not a coding problem. You don't have to make any changes, but at least you see how it works, right? And you can copy and paste this into your own, right? Into your own editor idle to get it to work. I'm about 20 years old this year. Good to know. So anyways, you can look at the code snippets. You can look at the data files. And you can always look at the notes that I'm going to copy and paste when we're done. And speaking of which, I think we're about ready to wrap up. So what I'm going to ask you to do for today is, this may be the one lecture where I don't actually have you fill out a lecture review form. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have you add a comment saying that you watched the lecture and you've read the syllabus and that you understand what's going on, right? So in Lecture A, the instructions are going to say, watch the lecture and then submit either the lecture video form, a comment saying you watched it, you read the syllabus, and understand it, right? And if you have any questions over the syllabus or anything at all, right, text me, please do. You can skip lecture video form this time. All right, so if you're watching, why don't we just do all that together so that you can say that the lecture is done. Of course, you can watch it again if you're that interested in it, but so I'm going to go into student mode so that I will see the same thing that you do. No.
Professor Thompson?
Yes, sir.
I don't think there's a screen of what you've been working on.
All right, let me click on student view and make sure that I'm seeing the same thing you are.
I see your icon for your avatar or whatever, but
You mean how long have I been talking without y'all seeing the screen?
I'm not sure. I'm pretending like I'm working.
Oh, no.
Last I looked, I'm at work.
Well, this hasn't been a successful lecture recording, has it? Why did it stop sharing this? All right, Canvas, you're ticking me off. Well, I hope it was interesting listening to it. You're seeing it now, right?
Yes, I am.
Was it showing earlier?
It was.
All right, and then at a certain point it stopped. I apologize for that.
No.
All righty. So anyways.
I didn't know the difference for too long. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was my mistake, and I did not mean for that to happen. So what I'm going to do is, now that I want to submit the fact that I'm done with this lecture, and y'all feel free to go ahead and do this right now, click on modules, go to chapter 1, and you will see lecture A. And so if I click on lecture A, here's my instructions. Watch the lecture and then submit a comment saying you watched it, that you read the syllabus and you understand it. You can skip the lecture video form, but if you needed it, it'd be there. There'll be a link to the video here, and I may post some notes here. So submit the assignment. Here we go. I could upload a file, but I don't have a file. I'm going to just go to text entry, right, and put your lecture stunk. I don't ever want it. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, I watched the lecture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're going to submit that. And you'll get full credit for that. That's all you need to do. And I don't know when they added the confetti, but it's cute. I feel real successful because they added the confetti. Then you're going to want to do and take a look at the homework. So you'll go back to modules and indent it under homework. You'll see install Python, launch idle, make the program print the word hello, run the program, take a screenshot, and submit the screenshot to the folder. So you're going to want to do that as well. I could take a screenshot and then I could submit it, and I will want to upload that file. Now, if you've taken fundamentals, you already have idle installed, and you can do this part, you know, in 2 minutes as well. Be done with everything before Thursday. It would be a really good idea to have idle installed before Thursday. But I always give a week for the homework. However, this really should be done before then, right? I just don't think it's fair for me to give homework and then say it's due in 2 days, right? Something like that. So I'm always going to put a due date on the homework of a week after the lecture in which it was assigned. Usually the midnight before, right? So this one's due Sunday, the 7th. All right. So are we all good, everybody? I apologize for the screen share not working through part of it. Lecture Zoom sure annoys me sometimes. And are there any questions? How many of us are still here?
A couple of us, I think.
Well, good deal. I can't get. Ooh, everybody
And
who.
I for one have sat in a lot worse Zoom meetings.
All right.
When people don't
Well,
follow
everybody
the
who
mute
started the
rule,
lecture
it's
ended it, so
terrible.
I appreciate y'all being here. You'll get your points for it just very momentarily. And I will see y'all Wednesday at 1 if you can make it. Otherwise, just watch the video. And by the way, the video that I am recording, at least for the last part, probably since the screen blanked out, everything should be in the video. So if anything sounded really interesting, then you could, once the video is posted, you can go back and review it.
All right.